expect? And you said the money faucet is the big subject.
Yes, tomorrow's news today. The money faucet turns off this week on Thursday, which is a very sad thing. But if you understand the cycle of it, Jupiter is the planet of luck and abundance. It's the expansive planet. Wherever it goes in your chart, it expands things. It puts things into motion. And so it usually goes forward for 10 months and then it stops and turns off for 4 months, giving you a chance to flesh out what it is that you created during that initial 10 months. You just can't have continual growth. So it's
You don't have too much stuff on the menu.
well, yeah, and it's sort of like you throw a whole bunch of stuff up on the wall, not all of it sticks during the retrograde period. Stuff that's not going to work kind of falls off the wall, and then when it goes direct in August, everything that's left is real and valid, and you can build on it. So it's understanding that particular cycle, and people are going, okay, but where is it going to turn off in my chart? Because for not everyone, it's not necessarily money. It can be just growth and expansion. So for Aries, the first sign is in the 9th house of the law, legal matters, educational matters, important matters at a distance, all that were going very swimmingly going forward seem to stop and slow up, and there's just not that much interest anymore in that, which is very depressing. You know, if you're trying to reach a larger audience with your words and then it kind of stops. So that's a bit of a challenge. For Tauruses, they're going to be the saddest because the money faucet really turns off for them regarding other people's resources that they have been expanding the amount of money that they have by using other people's resources, kind of sharing them, partners' resources, other people's resources, and that sadly slows up for the next 4 months or so. That's sort of like, so if your mom was sending you money, you know, and then she gets her income tax check and it's not big enough, the amount of money she sends you is not going to be as great, that kind of a thing.
Okay.
I know, which is very depressing. As a Taurus is looking at me
I don't have
going,
any of that. Well, yeah, no, I'm self-sustained, so
Yeah,
all right,
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
As
but-
long as that's not being cut off. we're
yeah,
good.
no, your own income is not being cut off. It's the
Okay.
resources you share with other people, that
Okay.
kind of a deal.
All right.
For Geminis, this energy is in the 7th house of partners and people that are on your side and allies. And for Geminis everywhere, they were doing really well with their public image for the last, 3-4 weeks or so. And now all of a sudden it's like, yeah, no, not so much. Now it's going to be, yeah, but that people that you thought were your friends really aren't. People you thought were on your side turn out to be not so much on your side. And it's
Talking
very,
out the side of their mouth. And
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. So it makes it quite a challenge to figure out who's with you and who's against you. That's the challenge. And people that you used to trust, you may not want to trust so much. Yikes. Which is crummy, really, in that regard, because they were sort of on a roll, as our president's going to find out. For Cancers, this energy is in their 6th house of worth, health, and responsibilities. And Cancers have been trying to change where it is they do their job. Not necessarily the job that they do, but where it is they do that.
Okay.
Remodeling, refurbishing, doing that, creating a better structure. Except all of that going forward has stopped, and now whatever it is that they've created, they have to consolidate and bring it down to something that they can actually manage and stop that continuing to try and expand that environment. And so really to Cancers everywhere, it's like, okay, whatever you started, see that through to completion. Don't start new stuff is the bottom line for Cancers.
Spread yourself thin.
And for Leos, holy mackerel, what a great place for this, because for Leos, it's been in their 5th house of love affairs, children, sports, amusements, pleasures, bands, anything entertaining. Yeah, anything entertaining, anything that's fun, anything that allows the Leo creativity out.
Okay.
And they've started a whole bunch of things in that area. Now it's time to kind of wind it down to, instead of dating 3 or 4 or 5 people, you know, kind of narrow it down to 1 or 2.
Oh, man,
You know,
why?
I know, because there'll be more. You know, you just kind of want to sort through them, kind of a thing. You know, and then you want to clear the decks in the event that there's new action coming for you.
All right, I'm writing all this down.
Right, I know, you're going to hold me to it. I know. So, but it's still a very creative time for Leos. And they have to think that some of the things that they're putting into motion now might not actually come to life until August.
Okay.
So you want to lay like a solid foundation. And so if you are going to start a band, don't offer to pay them that much right away.
All right.
Because you can always add that to it later on.
All right, well, I've got a couple more minutes here, or actually about 30 more seconds.
Okay, for Virgo, Virgo's the last one, and for them, it's all about their home and their foundations. They're trying to do something to solidify their home, and they've gone ahead and they've done a bunch of that stuff, and now it's time to stop and bring all of those projects to completion before you start new ones.
All right, I've got this.
As the money faucet turns off for the rest of the signs on Thursday. So for Libra, the sign, the next sign of the zodiac, it's in there. This doesn't really affect them very negatively. It's in their 3rd house of day-to-day living. So it's the kind of thing where they were taking some sort of classes and everything was going great, and then they're not going to take classes for the summer, kind of a deal.
And money's kind of a broad term for this.
It
right?
is. And when I talk about the money faucet turning off, it's more along the lines of the things that you've been expanding in your life, because it stays in a sign for a year. Stop expanding and they either get a little bit smaller, but they do not keep expanding. So for Libras, the pace of their day-to-day living has been very, very frenetic for them. And the good thing about it going retrograde is they get to narrow it down to something they can manage. So they're not constantly behind the power curve, not constantly trying to go to the next thing or the next thing that they can finish up.
I like the analogy. We got a lot of stuff on the menu. It's hard to pick, right?
Yeah, so you just want to kind of narrow it down, exactly, to say this is what's on the cheap lunch menu.
Gotcha.
For Scorpios, and they're going to hate this energy more than anybody else because it is in their second house of money. And they have been, the last year and a half, they've been really rehabilitating themselves and rehabilitating what they do. And they've been making a bunch of money, and it literally stops. And the catch to that is Scorpio's not going to realize it right away. So they're going to keep their spending going on until they realize, holy mackerel, I'm spending more than I'm making. And by then,
listening to you right now, they can slow it down a little
they
bit.
could. They could have a better understanding that they just don't, that they want to consolidate what they've done and then wait for August for the fruits of that labor to pay off for them, kind of a deal.
What's up?
Yeah, so for Sagittarians, and these are the athletes of the zodiac, for Sagittarians everywhere, it's in their first house of themselves and their physical self, and they've been starting new relationships, and for Sagittarians, you got to trick them down the aisle. They just don't walk down willingly. And for them, but personal relationships are going very well for them, and they've expanded that, and now they want to kind of capitalize on that, and they've kind of reinvented themselves since November, and now they're going to take that newly reinvented self out on the road and see how it plays.
They have to kind of work with what's in front of them.
Yeah, what they have right there instead of looking for new stuff.
All right.
For Capricorns, this is a good time for them just to take a step back and not do anything. They've put a whole bunch of things into motion over the last year or so. They have absolutely no energy to continue to do that, and they really need to focus on finishing up 11 years worth of work rather than starting any kind of new thing. Bring that to a successful conclusion, which is the important thing there. For Aquarians, they just want to have a good time. And they want to have a good time. It's a very entertaining time for them. It's a very fun time for them, which is kind of interesting because our headliner this weekend is an Aquarian.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the moon's going to be in Leo the night of the show, and I expect a spectacular show. I mean, literally, the fireworks, pyrotechnics, all kind of great stuff, and it's not the kind of show where you're just going to be able to sit down in your seat.
Oh,
It's the kind of thing where it's going to be very, very entertaining.
There's fireworks all right. Have you ever
Yeah.
seen Godsmack Live?
No.
Oh my
It's been a
gosh.
while, yeah.
Sully has this way of just looking at you and making you feel like he's singing just to you.
He
in the
is.
audience. Like,
He is.
so
He is.
magnetic and
He is.
cannot wait.
I would think he's very charismatic too, is he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
much so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Love
ready to put on a terrific show, which would be the fun thing for our listeners and for the audience. And then for Pisces, the last sign, there's professional successes headed their way, and they've done very well professionally. And now it's sort of like, we're going to give you this job. We're not going to pay you right away. We're going to see how you do at this job, and then we'll do a review in like 90 days, and then we'll throw a boatload of money at you. And so, it's worth. I would give it 4 months.
Okay.
And say, okay, let me see if you can live up to what you say you're going to do. So,
All right,
tomorrow's
there you go.
news today for the 12 signs of the zodiac with the Money Faucet turning off until like August 10th.